Has everyone had a chance to look over minutes, and do I hear a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Visitor comments? Any comments?
Would you like
Okay.
an agenda? Would you like an agenda? Or with the hearing?
That's the one that you-
Everybody but Paul is unable to make it today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Sean,
Okay,
what's new?
okay, several things to update you guys on, but first is I wanted to follow up to our conversation last month about the solar array at the rec center. And just, I know the greenhouse gas subcommittee is aware of this, but in case this wasn't mentioned to the larger group. A solar structure was purchased, a solar shade structure was purchased for the new water park. It will be adjacent to the lap pool and it covers spectator seating. It's 60 feet by 13 feet wide and it has 34 panels on it. So that's just a solar enhancement that I'm not sure if the wider group was made aware of. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, the city is still committed to the solar array on top of the rec center, and Dr. Peoples even told me we are all in, it's just taking some time. So the RFP hasn't gone out yet. Is still supposed to go out this year. Installation would not occur until after the 2025 swim season. So I just wanted to clarify that from last week. Also, I've confirmed Ameren to conduct energy audits of all of our government buildings. These are complimentary audits and they're not going to be as deep of a dive where they're able to give us like specific numbers on cost savings and payback periods. It's not going to be that specific, but it is going to give us a good benchmark and that's scheduled for March 18th. Okay. Wonderful news for our green dining district efforts. We have 3 new applicants for the microgrant program, including Bagel Union, Madrina, and the Parkmore. They've all applied for microgrants. And so that actually fulfills the 3 needed restaurants we needed in order to get our district status, which is very exciting. Now, yes, I was just, yeah, they have not passed their audits yet. Their audits are all scheduled for end of February, beginning of March. And then also last week, I had a really great meeting with one of the owners of Telva and Balkan Treat Box. And they are already operating at the green dining at the GDA certification requirements. So I expect that their grant application and their certification audit will both be scheduled and submitted very soon as well. So very exciting there. Okay, Webster Grove Safe Streets. We have been putting out a monthly update. I will pass this around in case anybody wants to read, but in short, the environmental review has been contracted with a firm called HR Green. The safety action plan is in the final negotiations, but that is expected to be contracted and completed soon, within the next week or 2, probably. And then the public survey on roadway safety is still open, but it closes this Friday, February 14th, if anyone hasn't had a chance to take it. Okay, also stormwater. The stormwater master plan was scheduled to be presented on at a city council meeting this month. That's been delayed. It's now going to be March 4th. I just received this update as I was walking out the door of the service center to come here. So I believe it's March 4th. It's the first council meeting in March, but that's where the consultants and the city public works department together will present on the findings and discuss the stormwater master plan.
Speaking of public meeting too, like the park, or is it just for the city council?
No, it's public. It's public. I don't know. Well, as of now, I'm not sure if it's slated for the working, I think it's in yeah, it should be a public meeting. Yeah. Okay, lighting. There's been some renewed interest on revisiting and amending our lighting codes. Specifically because Kirkwood, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but about 2 weeks ago, Kirkwood updated their lighting ordinances to be in alignment with dark sky initiatives. We, in this commission, have talked about this in the past and, but there's been other things to concentrate on. The Green Space Advisory Commission is also very interested in moving forward with this, and I think they're going to formally discuss it and possibly vote on making a recommendation to council in March, at their March meeting. But with Kirkwood, that now brings us up to Kirkwood, Clayton, Brentwood, and Ellisville that have all updated their lighting codes. And so these codes are mostly related to commercial and new builds. They focus on color temperature and light trespass. So some things that might be mentioned would be the shields and the type of light fixtures that go in. Most updated codes reflect a 2700 Kelvin requirement or 3000 at the minimum. Older technology is 5000, just as an FYI. Now, I had a call last week with Jake Roniker. Is that his name? He's a Webster Groves resident. He's also an environmental attorney, and he happens to be on the Dark Sky Missouri board. And he has been engaged with the other municipalities in the region that have updated. So he knows all about Brentwood's, Clayton's, Kirkwood's codes. He played a role in that. He, of course, would be, very willing and eager to help Webster with theirs. I had a great call with him last week. And one thing especially that I thought would be of interest to this commission is that, so aside from just dark sky initiatives relating to human health and wildlife health, I've also reached out to Ameren about, this is more in alignment with our greenhouse gas reduction efforts, but to get a count of our street lamps or street lights that are still older technology versus LED, just to see where we are in that transition to LED. I don't have that count yet. They've also admitted that that information is not quick for them to provide. But that conversation has begun with the intention of getting our city's streetlights transitioned over to LED. Now, what I learned from my conversation with Jake is that the municipalities that do have updated ordinances, when Ameren is maintaining and swapping out new lights, those municipalities with the updated codes will get the newer technology, the 2700 LED lights, as opposed to the 5000 LED lights, because Ameren still has a stock of these 5000 lights. So there's an advantage to us updating these codes just purely in relation to the effort we're doing with greenhouse gas reduction as well. So something to think about. Green Space is, like I said, they are going to formally address this at their March meeting, but I'm gathering that they are very interested in making a recommendation to council. And if the Sustainability Commission would be interested, they would love to collaborate and join forces. So also, if you guys are interested in hearing more about this, Jake is available to come in and speak to this group at next month's meeting on March 17th, should that be of interest. And he said just to give him however many minutes he has, and so something to think about.
And Jake is a Webster resident.
He is a Webster resident, but probably only for he and his wife are retiring and moving to Kentucky actually this summer. So he's here for now. He's here for the next, 4 or 5 months, I think.
I would think that'd be great to
Yeah.
have him here because it's good for wildlife, it's good for carbon, like what's not to like.
Yeah. Should I go ahead and invite him
Yeah,
to come
let's
next
do
month?
that.
Okay,
Because
wonderful.
someone to explain
Yeah,
the
and he's
Kelvin
the expert,
scale, too.
so, yeah.
as it pertains to lighting.
Okay, and then I'd also like to give you guys a very quick tour of the sustainability website. But just so you know, this is still in draft mode and I still have more work to do on it, so I'm sorry, it's not finished and it's not live at the moment, but under departments, we've got sustainability. Okay. Oh goodness, hold on. I think this is just because it times out. Hold on one second. Yeah. Sorry. I had this up already, but. Okay. Sustainability. This is just a little header about it was implemented in fiscal year 2025 and aligns with the recommendations from the Forever Webster plan as well as the city strategic plan. And then this is really more what I want to show you over here. There's more to put on this front page, but I have it organized so it follows the layout of the Forever Webster Sustainability Plan. So the first page over here is the built environment, which focuses on energy, emissions, and waste. There's a nice little blurb here. I'm not going to read everything, but I would have links to city collaborations such as the solar panel rebate program, curbside recycling, the greenhouse gas inventory, our Ripple glass recycling, waste reduction, and annual events listed there. And then also community resources for our residents. So and if you guys see anything, don't hesitate to shoot me an email with a suggestion. I would love that. But a few different resources that you can see here, including the Ameren Pays program, Dark Sky Missouri, home energy audits, more specific links to add here. Okay, so that's the built environment. And then we go to the natural environment, which talks about water, vegetation, and wildlife. City collaborations would include the GSAC Green Our City Tree Stewardship Program, the GSAC No Mow April and Leave the Leaves campaigns. Community resources include native landscape, Grow Native for native landscaping, the MSD Project Clear Rainscaping Small Grants Program for stormwater management, and then some wildlife rescue and rehabilitation organizations. Okay, transportation and mobility. A nice little intro, and then link to complete streets, City Hall, the public EV charging stations, highlight the police department's EVs, and then link to the Webster Grove Safe Streets page, and then community resources.
I'm not sure if it'd be appropriate, but there is, Bi-State has a bus stop,
Oh,
the number 56 bus stop on Lockwood. It
absolutely.
goes from there down to Merrimack Community College, and I'm not sure all the different places it goes to, but it seems to me that would be helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, perfect. And then let's see, and then community engagement and development. Talks about the importance of an engaged community. The green dining microgrants, the eco education lecture series. Also this kind of covers regional collaboration as well. So the campaign yard signs, regional recycling event, just kind of a highlight. And then community resources, you know, we can put food waste reduction and recovery among, you know, other things. So, and of course, I'm sorry, this isn't live where you can go back and look at it. But if anything, you know, comes to mind on community resources to share, or maybe city collabs that I've forgotten, please shoot me an email first.
Is Ripple in there?
Yeah.
Ripple is in there. Well, and that's a good question. So currently our waste in the sustainability plan, waste is under the built environment. So,
I see, it says, so that will be when it's live, you can click on that and see where in the hell Ripple is for. example.
correct, yeah. And so these links, it might just be a highlight of the program. Or if it's the community, information on what the city has done or what, programs we're working on. Or it would be a link to an actual organization that's helpful for residents, to know, who to call if you've got, a possum in your garage, or you want to start composting, or you're interested in the small grants, the MSD stormwater grant program. Yes,
A couple of additions perhaps.
please.
St. Louis Audubon Marine Conservation Home. I believe they provide services for pollinator gardens.
Oh, wonderful.
It's actually broader than that. It's for biodiversity in general. So
Nice.
it focuses on birds as well as other. birds.
Wonderful.
The two
Thank you.
emphases are birds and pollinators.
Okay.
Mobot Rain Garden, a rainscaping cost share.
That's the same as, it's the same,
Oh,
but
you
yeah.
did that.
Yes,
Oh,
the
it's
MSD.
It's the
Oh, that's-
MSD that
there's-
funds Mobile to
It's,
it.
it's actually separate, two separate.
I
You
thought
can
Mobot just
apply through
facilitated.
Mobot.
I think it's the same funding source. No?
One is MSD funded and one is. It is?
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, one is Mobot funded.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look into that.
And then, shoot, there was one other.
Think about it for a second. Mary, you had something.
Thank you. This is really exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
When we talk about our Earth Day committee proposal, one of the things that we'd like to offer as a group is Anna perhaps designing a sustainable Webster Groves map. Is a map something that we could put here? And where would that
Absolutely.
be? So we just wanted to
Yeah,
connect. You'll hear about it later, but that would
Okay.
be great if we could.
yeah, I think that'd be great.
You know, another thing to add,
Mhm.
that there's a public EV charging station in the parking lot.
I do have
Oh, is that
that.
already in there?
Yeah,
Okay, I missed that.
It's. yes, Yeah, the charging stations here.
Ah, cool.
Mary,
And actually, that reminds me that our map could include things you have, for instance, the bus stop. Or,
Yeah.
so we just need to cross pollinate,
yeah.
unintended. Okay, cool.
Community gardens, of which there are 3.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Possibly one other thing,
Mhm.
although I don't know how this works because it's in, but the prairie on Forgivens Elementary, the prairie that is there.
Oh,
It's like a school, or in other words, school-based gardens or school-based.
And then
Prairies.
there's Lockwood Park too, right? Isn't that? Or
Is it
Prairies.
right there?
okay, that's good, good to know. I will mention that our public engagement manager told me that she's planning an overhaul of the city's website this spring/summer, so she's like, I'm gonna be revising everything. So she's like, she's like, I just want to put your blood, sweat, and tears into it right now because, so anyway, if I don't get all of these little things, uploaded on the front end, like, it's okay. We can continue to update and add to it. It might not be perfect in the beginning, but we'll get there. Okay, I think the only other thing that I wanted to return to is the Oops Tag program, but I can either bring that up again, or it's on the agenda for recycling outreach. So, but I'd like to know if the commission is interested in pursuing that grant with St. Louis County. To refresh your memory, this grant does not require a city match. If we had volunteers and we didn't have to pay for labor, the county estimates this program could be low end $10,000, up to maybe 25 grand, although the county's grant would cover all of the costs. But you know, there's a lot of work that's involved with this, so we need to select the neighborhoods. Would need volunteers and boots on the ground. I'd need to apply officially for the county's grant. I think it's a fantastic education and outreach opportunity. But if the commission's not really excited about it, then there's other things that I can be focusing my attention on, so I'm not gonna pursue it aside from the commission. So something to think about, and then I know you guys are gonna talk about your priorities. Yeah, John.
What's the county grant pay for?
It pays for, so, data collection, there's an app that accompanies, the audit program, so each house or carts that is visited, the address is plugged in, the results of the quick audit, the quick glance in there is documented. The routes, you know, every house is documented, and so the tablets required for the boots on the ground that are doing the audit are provided.
Oh, so you're not just doing it on your personal cell phone, you've got some
Yeah,
electronic device from the county.
I think so, yes, but it's also mailings, to inform the community that we're doing this, when it's happening. Depending on the details, it can also include or cover an event that could be a, eco, you know, they said, also, I should mention that my county contact said they also would be willing to come in and speak to this group about the details of the program. They also said they could contribute to or help, some sort of event, you know, which maybe ties in with the eco ed, maybe not, it could be totally separate. What other questions do you guys have? So here, let me read this. She said, without labor for a 4 to 6 week audit, your grant would probably be on the low end, $10,000 rough guess. Depends on what bells and whistles you would add and the cost of your mailings. As we move forward, it would be good to get input from your commission about education events. Some of those costs can be covered by the grants. If you were going to do all of the households in Webster, that would extend the project another 4 to 6 weeks.
I sort of feel like waste management could just do a better job of informing us of what goes in recycling and what should stay out.
We have an eco ed on that, a whole eco ed.
I feel like that might be like if we go to the trouble of the oops audit without front loading better education, it just might not be the best investment of time and money.
So that eco ed is on June 4th. So that would actually be a good time to kick off that program if we decided to do it, is at that event.
So June 4th is the guy who hosted us at
Mhm.
the recycling.
And the River
Festival.
Gap Club,
And what day is that? Did you say again?
June 4th, first
June
Wednesday.
4th. I think, I would volunteer in this. I think it's high value because I think it's just, I think if you look at human behavior, that one of the things that changes behavior is if you monitor it, if you have a check-in on whatever it is, like taking your damn, like, I don't know, asthma pills or whatever. If you know there's somebody gonna check, your participation goes up. So I think this is scientifically valid. It also seems to me that in terms of where the mass of Webster Groves residents intersect with sustainability, one of the places is solid waste. There's other places, there's which vehicle do they choose and is their house energy efficient, yada, yada, yada. But like, that is one of the most in your face things because you do it every single week. And I don't think we could do it at the scale of every household in Webster because that's got to be, what is that, 10,000 or? I'm not sure how many households there are, but
There were 9,000 something households when we were doing that grant.
okay, so But I would volunteer to be a part of that and I will help make that happen, because I think as a commission for us, we're only like, what, 8 or 9 people. We can't do all that much. We're trying to move the other 10,000 people out there. And I think this is a way to make them feel part of the game.
Thanks, John. Do you want to continue discussion on this or pick it up later in the agenda?
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe it is something we can discuss as part of our priorities when we get there, and sort of in the context of what else we have going on, and make a decision of what we want to give to council as the project we're working on. Yeah, Matt.
Before we move on, is there a timeline on that grant?
No, it's a rolling.
rolling.
Mhm. But the ideal time to operate would be, this summer.
Sure.
Yeah, just when there's plenty of light at 6 o'clock in the morning before the recycling trucks come through.
Sure.
Right. That looks awesome. This has like been something that when I first got on sustainability, I was like, can we have a list, the webpage and have resources, and so good to see it.
Good, thank you.
Appreciate that, all the work that's gone into that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Councilmember Bliss.
Just a couple things. Did you talk about green dining lines?
I did, but go on.
Did you talk about them?
I mentioned
Okay.
Parkmore,
Okay,
and Councilmember Bliss helped me get in the door with Parkmore and Madrina, so thank you to her.
and robust, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just be brief because I do think it's important we talk about the priorities and in a low-key, non-rushed timeframe. But anyway, the Lakota group presented the first draft of the comprehensive plan to council last Tuesday night, and it was excellent. It basically provides a framework for future decisions in planning and development in the city. And sustainability and natural resources was one of the 7 pillars that they will be working with to help make Webster Groves a better place and do the best with our resources that we have here in our small 6 square miles. So that's all I have.
All right, we'll move on to old business and take up commission priorities. We held a subcommittee meeting a couple of weeks ago, and primarily we're looking at, we discussed greenhouse gas reduction strategies the last meeting. We kind of added to that, and now we need to decide how we're going to communicate our priorities to council, because the report is due. We would submit a report every year, and the next one is due in March 15th, which I believe is before our next commission meeting. I meant to print something out so I could hand these around and not have to read them and make you listen, but I did not. So I'm going to go over sort of the bullet points, and I've added your wording suggestion, and I'm not sure what you meant, but we can get to that.
Yeah.
So the way it's broken down is taking sort of 4 priority areas for the commission. 1, greenhouse gas reduction. 1 would be under the broad topic of community engagement. The 3rd would be waste reduction, and the 4th area would be land use and stormwater management. And then under each of those, we have some sort of action items or things, priorities. And we need to, and I'm going to go to Pam, I'm going to go to you on this, but just to make it clear, but I think what we talked about was paring that down to, in terms of how this is presented to council. Like we don't want to go list 14 things. We want to sort of, I think we can do more than 4 things, but we don't want to sort of overwhelm council with too much detail or color on this. So under greenhouse gas reduction, we have, and some of these may not be necessary given some of the updates from Sean, but was continue to advocate for solar installation at the rec center, which we may want to just not mention that since it sounds like it's in progress. We talked about expanding the solar rebates to include home EV charger installation. And the amount we talked about was $200. If a potential deeper audit of city buildings, depending, and I think hopefully the audit that Sean mentioned might provide some clues as to, you know, what's necessary. One would be to advocate for the city to adopt the most recent or more recent building codes, including EV and or solar ready ordinances. And that could also include if there was something we wanted to advocate for on lighting, but code related changes. Under community engagement are programs that like EcoEd, if we wanted to do an event at City Hall around EVs, things like NOMO, April, and the Leave the Leaves or Webster on Wheels. Those are all kind of fall in that broad bucket. Continuing sponsorship of the things we do annually on recycling, or that could go under waste reduction. Involvement in safe streets, which we're part of. And I think that may be where community engagement, where our intersection with the comprehensive plan comes in at the appropriate time. Then under waste reduction, and I had, you know, working to continue the Green Dining District certification, which maybe that will be done. And I don't know if that's something we continue to, I mean, once we have the district established, how much work goes into that. It could include the OOPS tag program, and if we decide to pursue that grant, continuing to get rid of the green bags, which is, I think we're almost there. And then under land use stormwater management would be to participate in discussions around land use policies and stormwater once the stormwater plan, there's something there for us to get involved with.
Do you know if for that last one, if that is going to include like private development in terms of land management use? So like offsetting this houses are like 5,000 times bigger.
Yeah.
It seems like they're going up and they're really large. And that's gonna
Well,
be
the
a
comprehensive
challenge.
plan, there's a whole housing pillar
Okay,
for the comprehensive plan, so that would relate to affordability and size. And then there's also been just some other kind of initiatives around diversity of housing and things.
I would think the sustainability angle is a little bit different, right, in terms of what, so some of the
Yeah.
outcomes are the same, but
Right.
Yeah,
intent
I mean, I
is
think,
different.
my point at the end was to just pull out those two plans. Stormwater management plan is one
Oh,
bullet,
gotcha.
and the comprehensive plan is another.
Gotcha.
bullet.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, I don't know in terms of how this is communicated. I mean, if you're thinking, let's pull out some examples of things we want to do. A lot of what we have on our list is, you know, advocating for policies, which probably at the most would be someone going to council and saying, here's what, you know, we'd like to see council do, and here's why. It's not, you know, beyond just having discussions at this table. There's not a lot. It's not going to require a lot of our time and effort. I don't think there's anything on here that would go beyond our $1,000 budget. So I don't know that we have any necessarily any budget requests beyond our usual.
If
What-
those in-depth audits come in, there would be additional costs for
Okay.
those.
Sorry, are we still talking about greenhouse gas reduction strategies or priorities?
So just broadly our priorities for
Okay.
next year.
Okay.
And if there's anything else that, you know, this is what you talked about as a committee, if there's anything to add to that. Right.
Under greenhouse gas, when we said we were thinking about expanding to EV chargers, we also mentioned heat pumps.
Right, we need to make a call on whether we think we want to add that to the list.
The heat pumps are part of the federal money. And the DNR is writing the regs for applying for that. So there's gonna be a whole separate state funding stream there that's robust, which needs to be robust because those things are expensive. So I think we could point people to that state program, but our federal,
But
it's
spend
federal
a long
dollars, but
time.
managed by the state, but seems to me that's more their wheelhouse than our wheelhouse.
Yeah. DNR, but I don't know how.
They're gonna be slow as damn molasses because it's run by a bunch of Republican knuckleheads. It's sort of the reality, but we'll roll with what we got.
We still have to work with them.
And
Okay.
then what would be most helpful from us?
So I just want, you know, I'm interested in thoughts and what do things stand out that we ought to be highlighting to council in terms of our priorities for next year, or things that maybe we don't need to, like hearing your update on the solar at the rec center, like maybe that doesn't need to be something that we put on a list to council. I mean, it doesn't mean we're not gonna continue to push for that. But I think Pam's concern is we don't want to walk in there with like reading off this long list to council, because it kind of overwhelms them, and they just kind of want a few bullet points of what we're most interested in pursuing.
And it sounds like a lot of the things you mentioned, the commission has been doing for several years.
Right, exactly.
So maybe they accept those,
Right,
if you will, so maybe the things we really wanna highlight are the advocacy.
right, and that's, if you go back to our mission statement or our charge as a commission, it's more about advocating for policy. I mean, we're going to do eco-ed, we're going to do whatever, we can do whatever public education events we want, we have the time for.
I think highlighting that for council would be really important.
Yeah.
Reminding them of our charge. That is our priority, actually.
Right,
Mhm.
right, and it asked you in the,
And that's not on your list of what things. It's implied,
yeah,
but
right, yeah, so the form we will submit, you know, at the very top, it says, it asks us to sort of reiterate what is your charge as a commission. But it doesn't mean we can't do public education. And I still want to highlight some of the things we're doing, especially like eco-ed, which is, you know, really a great program.
So we don't want to send a laundry list of like the 14 or 20
Right.
things, but within each of the 4 units, could we choose one or 2 main ones? So like thinking about with the materials where we're talking about and waste, right? We're talking about recycling. There's a couple things that are all intertwined with recycling, right? In terms of you guys did the tour before I got here, and then now we're following up with this maybe oopsie project, maybe, right? That's just one example,
Right,
right? Where it's kind of actually, if you say we're tackling recycling and you're doing like 3 or 4 different things related to that, that doesn't mean we have to detail every single thing that we're doing to the board. But maybe within each of those units, we highlight 1 or 2 things that are actually might be multiple action items, but are really under one umbrella.
And it would be great if we could tie some of those awesome things we're doing to the policies that we're
Yeah,
advocating
that's
for.
exactly.
almost like a Venn diagram kind of thing.
Right,
Yeah, like it's not.
Like, we need this participation we need this leadership from council while we work on this outreach and residents are really engaged in And there's that sweet
Right.
spot in the middle of it.
Well, and I think, so the things I think that we need to bring to council, and tell them that we're interested in pursuing are things that are going to require council's blessing. Whether that's expanding the solar rebates,
Oh,
to,
the codes on the.
right.
So does that framework though, that suggested framework work though, these themes, like we plan to do 2 or 3 of these, such as, and flag, this will require council's approval, this will require this,
Right,
okay.
right.
It seems like we have more high priority under the first basket. That each bucket doesn't have the same amount of importance.
I was wondering the same thing, especially about waste reduction. I mean, the OOPS tag, if we do want to do that, we would need to advocate for support
Right.
from council.
But I don't know that they have to put any money into it, or people. I think
The
the
grant.
the
is-
county, it's a county grant, not a city grant.
Gotcha.
We would need city leadership's approval to submit for the grant. I don't know if that requires city council's approval,
Right,
but we would, broadly speaking, we would need leadership's approval.
I mean, if council were to request it from Dr. Peoples, then she would do it, but we have to. She may buy in to you guys just doing the grant without us, or you could have us help advocate for it.
I think in either case, it would be advisable to have council approve it, because we're gonna be going around and looking at people's garbage and putting stuff on their bins, and the city's gonna hear
Yeah.
from it, from people. Personally, I'm neutral on it. But the city should definitely be aware, and be out in front of it.
And I think it would be good to have a model to talk about another program where it's worked
so as I think of it, the things that we
and the
would,
comms around
the
it.
things that we
Yeah.
would go and sort of take to council would be this expanding solar rebates to include EV chargers. The code related changes.
For greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the EV ready,
Yeah.
or solar ready.
Yeah, so those would be the the intent to seek a deeper audit of city buildings on
mhm.
energy savings. And perhaps the OOPS tag. And then, things like, my question, I guess, Pam, is on the stormwater management and comprehensive plan. We don't really know, I mean, we want to have a role in that, but we don't know
Right.
what form that's going to take. So is it just mentioning our intent to be involved?
You could just say future, future initiatives.
Yeah.
And you'd like to help with the comprehensive plan, community engagement, et cetera,
Yeah, so we're basically signaling our.
Yeah,
desire to be
and then,
involved.
right.
Yeah.
That you're building presence.
I would add under the greenhouse gas bucket, what Sean was talking about earlier about this lighting stuff going from 5,000 Kelvin.
I think I would, so I was gonna include that under the sort of code related
Okay.
changes, kind of the broad. That broad category of advocate for code changes.
Seems like,
No, okay.
well, just looking at this quickly, it seems like 3 of the 4 kind of focus in on the energy and greenhouse gas, they're both related to that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just might be a way to pair, like to say, this year our focus is on these things. We have 3 initiatives within this. We're building other initiatives as we go, but we really wanted to talk to you today about these 3. And depending on how we go with the OOPS's program. But it all sort of seems under one main umbrella, so maybe that's a way to focus the numerous things that we all do on as part of the commission,
Right,
but narrowing it down to like one talking point essentially
right.
of what we're doing the same, so.
I was gonna just hark back to the EV credits. There are tremendous amount of federal credits available for solar as well. And I think that giving people as many options as possible, because people who are gonna put in an EV charger probably aren't gonna put in a heat pump this year, or the other way around, and I don't know why we wouldn't expand that, because heat pumps are so incredibly popular these
Right.
days, and also very efficient.
You might want to line that up with the DNR money, which is how the federal money's moving. And
Does that really matter, though? I mean, we're talking about what the city is going to be able to do for our residents. And
But-
grant, we have $20,000 we haven't spent. There's no way we're gonna spend it all on, in the next 15 years, on solar panels and EV chargers. It's just not.
I'd say if we did $200, I mean, I'm with you. Heat pumps are amazing and they're expensive, and it would kind of, I mean, the purpose of these incentives and the rebates is to kind of show that the city thinks this is important from a sustainability perspective. I think whatever it is, I don't have an updated figure, it was about $15,000 left. I agree with you, the solar is gonna go slow just because it's a big investment, interest rates are high and are still high. And they're moving slowly. If we did, and I don't think we certainly go through it in a year, maybe two. Even if we added heat pumps, I don't think we're adding many more heat pumps than we are solar or EV chargers.
Yes.
So I'm all for adding it. I want to be sure through the city, that from an administrative standpoint, I don't know what's involved when someone comes in to permit the heat pump.
What's the concern? Oh, sorry. Yeah. I could
So
jump.
for the purpose of this report to council, are you just trying to signal that we want to make continued efforts to spend down this $15,000?
Right,
On
exactly.
things like expanding the scope of what's covered,
Exactly.
figuring out.
So I don't know that we need to be that
simplifying
specific.
yeah,
We can state our
we don't want
intent,
to take that money from you.
right, our intent to pursue this. But yeah, I just mean from administrative, so the idea behind solar is once you have your solar panels installed, when you come back for your final inspection, I think that's how this gets processed. And I know with an EV charger, you would have to also get that final inspection. I'm assuming obviously with the heat pump, you would have to get something through the city. But as long as that's doable, I would be all in favor. I mean, heat pumps would certainly reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
I like your idea of saying really high level, Mary, and just saying we would
Yeah.
like to consider other ways to expand this and not pigeonhole ourselves into even just EV and or heat pumps.
Right.
Because we might think of something else we want to use it for. So
Insulation, new windows.
the devil's advocate is a city. If I'm on the city council, I'm thinking like, well, like, what counts? Like, I don't know, white roofs. You paint your roof white, you reduce heat, you reduce carbon use. I mean, we could all make up 50 different ideas that are actually
Right.
reduce
Like-
carbon, but like
But are they being funded by the federal or state government?
that, or even like who decides, like, you know, unless we have a list and say, okay, EV chargers, heat pumps, solar panels, this works, but painting your roof white and don't, like,
Permeable
Well, yeah, but
pavers.
they have to be delineated, right? I think for the purposes of this discussion, we're just talking about considering or telling council our intent is to expand the list of energy conserving devices we would help reimburse some costs for, right? So.
I'm just saying we should have a list of what.
Yeah, oh,
We'll
totally.
come up with one, but we don't have to give it
Right.
a
Not for
specific
here,
list to council right
Right.
now.
And my thought, so the initial purpose of solar rebate was that it's sort of I won't say nascent technology, but it's out of the reach of a lot of people, and it's sort of, $500 isn't enough incentive to make anybody think, oh, I'm just gonna go out and get solar on my house. But if you're thinking about solar, maybe it helps tip the scales a little bit to making that decision. Likewise, buying an EV and EV charger is a big investment. A heat pump is a big investment. We're not going to give rebates for changing your furnace filter. I mean, even though it's helpful. So I don't want to like create such a big laundry. I wouldn't want to create such a big laundry list that it gets kind of overwhelming. But I do think you have raised a good point that we can say, look, this is our intent based on the results of greenhouse gas benchmarking survey that the city did to help our residents reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least helping offset the inspection or permit cost at the local level by doing these rebates. I mean, I think that was the intent of the solar rebates. But like you said, I don't think we have to be that specific
It
in
would
this
almost seem
report.
hasty if you were.
Yeah. So this sort of can be, discussion can be continued, but as a sort of priority bullet item, and it's really nothing that requires beyond us talking about at this table any action on our part.
Clarifying question.
Sure.
So is community engagement a separate priority in your recommendation, or is it a tool that advances your other three priorities?
I think I would view it as a tool, and it depends how we want to present this. I mean, it's certainly nothing that requires the city council's approval if we want to do a public education session. So that's how I would look at it.
Thanks.
We didn't talk in too much detail about the stormwater and land management, except for some of the housing initiatives in the comprehensive plan. But did you have some more specifics about that?
Well, it has not been
Yeah.
adopted yet,
Okay.
so you can, add that phrase for the comprehensive plan, that upon adoption, you want to help. Stormwater, that's been presented. We haven't technically adopted that either, but it's still, there's a number of projects that can be done with that. So I think it's a matter of after the culverts are replaced, just maybe helping advocate for what else we can do to help manage individuals or, different areas, low-lying areas of, Deer Creek, Shady Creek and stuff.
The one thing that I think,
Runoff, that's a big deal, so.
I guess we just, if we're going to pursue a grant to do the OOPS tag audit, I think that's something that we have to decide whether or not to put that on our list of priorities.
And that's due before March 15th, right?
Right.
Is it possible to do that next year?
I think so. Yes, I've heard nothing that indicates it's this year and then it's closing or ending.
I would be concerned that we'd forget about it in the interim. That we've got some, and again, I think in terms of what touches most of our constituents, trash is like 100%, whereas heat pumps or EVs or solars, 1%.
I think one of the things we always talk about is, do we have the bandwidth to do this?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be dependent on whether or not somebody in here is gonna say, I have the bandwidth to do this. And take the lead on it as to whether or not we can manage to get anything done.
I think one of the things that stood out to me was some of what Sean went through, right? A lot of the rework, like the mailings, the education, that's not a trivial amount of effort, which is gonna be, if not for the grant, going to have to come out of the city's coffers some way, shape or form if it's gonna be meaningful, so. Hoops tag notwithstanding, I think if we're gonna do it, I don't know how we do it without at least trying for the grant. In which case, I think you'd have to. Certainly would be a good idea to put it on the
Yeah.
chart for next, the 15th.
And how many volunteers or potential
People on
paid?
the ground that we need.
Yeah,
I believe. 4 to 6 is what I, yes,
and it's a couple, it's every day.
it's every day. I mean, yeah, it depends on which neighborhoods we select and then which routes, what day of the week those neighborhoods fall on. But it would be, yeah, it's probably a several week long process. And then to do the first round, and then you let it sit for a couple weeks and then, or a month, and then you would go back and check those houses again.
That's a really big time. I think, didn't we talk about being able to use some of the grant money to pay like perhaps high school students?
Yes, you can use grant funding to pay for labor.
I think that will be our best chance of success for actually implementing the audit.
It doesn't help for your annual report, but I can have the county come in and answer questions, but I know it doesn't help for the March 15th deadline.
Yeah. I mean, one option is to put this down as something that we intend to pursue. I mean, it may not be something we complete this next 12 months. If it comes together, that's something the commission wants to follow through with, at least it's on the council's radar without committing to, that we're pursuing the grant. Because we'll make a presentation to council in May, I think, is usually when the commissions come to the city and stand there and talk about what they're gonna be doing. So
what is the March 15th?
that is when I submit the written report to council,
written.
which state talks about what we've done over the past 12 months and what our goals for the next 12.
And then you defend it in May.
Yeah. I
Kinda.
didn't do it, but I did it 2 minutes, but-
And one other thing I want to make sure we don't lose track of is what Sean said earlier about the lighting.
Yeah.
And having that as a greenhouse gas reduction strategy, because electricity for lighting is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I was including that in like building code, EV ready and solar ready codes and the lighting
Okay, great.
would all go into code related.
Brilliant.
So what I'll do is I'll try to summarize this. I'll send around a draft to at least the committee. If anyone else wants to see it, that's fine, of the report.
To me, this seems like something much broader than just the greenhouse gas.
Well, this is the commission priorities
Yeah.
subcommittee.
I'm
Yeah,
so
that's
sorry.
okay.
I'm
No.
like,
But that's why I wanted to know, if there's anything beyond. So here's what the thing, I've sort of bolded the things, some of the policy things. And that is expanding solar rebates to what, we're not quite sure yet, but all the code related changes that we'd like to pursue as they relate to energy and greenhouse gases. The potentially doing a deeper audit of city buildings, depending on what the free Ameren audit shows. Pursuing the Oops Tag grant and participating in discussions around land use and stormwater management and the comprehensive plan. So if there's something beyond that, but I think that's a pretty full list to give the council. And it doesn't include obviously a lot of the stuff you have to do on an ongoing basis.
Right, and you mentioned that in the report, just sort of,
Right.
here's what we.
Yeah, it's got another section for ongoing issues.
That's by definition, those are our priorities. But theoretically, we need to let some other stuff go to get these things done. Right?
Theoretically, yeah. I mean, Green Dining Alliance is something now that we have the restaurants for district. There is a section like. Do you want to talk about what you've done in the past 12 months? And we can kind of put that in the completed box, even though we're still, obviously, we'd be open, other. The Green Dining Alliance grants are still open to other restaurants, but now that we have the district established, we've sort of accomplished our goal.
And after May, once the budget has been approved, we will have an opportunity at that point as a commission to flesh out our goals specific to stormwater and management, for example.
Yeah, well, I think once the city brings something to the table that we can review, then we can have input on it.
Amongst ourselves or with the city.
Both. I mean, we can, I think in the past on things like this, what we've done is we've looked at it and we could write letters of support. We could get involved in, when the city was trying to develop, the area, a few years ago over by, Rolling Ridge. I mean, this commission took a very active role in doing, we met with the developer, we held a Zoom meeting with this commission and the developer to talk about sustainability issues. And then we had input on, made a recommendation to council or said, here's what we think. So, I mean, we can have as big a little of a role as we want. All right, I don't want to monopolize too much time because I know we're having a long one today. So I will circulate that to, I mean, I'm happy to send out, I'll draft this to everybody before I send it in to, for any feedback, if that's helpful.
We'd love to see it.
Sure.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no problem. All right, Earth Month, I don't want to.
So, our subcommittee agreed that I would kick things off. I met with, Anna and John, and Amna is on our subcommittee also, but wasn't able to join us. We had a call. We would like to propose, a group of 4 activities. We have our names by each of them as sort of interested in leading the charge, and happy to tell you more about them now if you'd like. The overview is that we want to propose an event where we introduce the community to the EV charging station here, and possibly to EV auto opportunities. John is happy to share more about that. Relatedly, we'd like to propose creating a map which physically shows you where the EV charging station is and other key sites in town. And Anna is trained in such things and is willing to design the map and have that up with input on what we highlight. I'm happy to take the charge on making sure the Green Dining Alliance restaurants are highlighted on the map and able to engage at the event. It could be like, here's $5 off your coffee, or it could be actually having coffee and baked goods at the event. Pros and cons to both. It could include, I would follow your lead, Sean, on like whether you could talk about that. So that's a GDA thing I would head up. And then Amna is willing to head up the kind of communications around this using the marquee sign. So during the course of the month, we could have some marquee sign things, and we have, as our genesis point, we have a date that John has already floated to anchor the EV event, and then all the rest of the stuff would build around it throughout April.
One note on the marquee board, the city's not against it, but space is so tight on the marquee board that our public affairs manager suggested she could also you guys could submit a blurb, a paragraph each week that would be published in the Friday page, which would, you know, give you a lot more space to expand on a helpful tip than, I mean, I don't even know if there's really enough, like you might be able to get like one sentence, but it's gonna be, depending on the other list of meetings for a certain day, there's not always a lot of extra room. But, you know, we could put something every week in the Friday page for Earth Month.
Would it be possible to do like a short phrase that's hopefully somewhat informative, but that would always link to the Friday
Yeah,
thing?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a way to.
So, Amna, are you hearing this?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, just like Nicole just said, could we have something that was static there for the whole month, maybe, that maybe said something like Earth Month tips, see Friday page, or Earth Month information, see city website, or something like that, that's really super short. Because I tried to draft a couple versions of things, but I think even then, most of them will end up being too long.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Amna. Absolutely. A static line, yeah, that's you know, exactly, to draw attention. I think that would be fine.
Okay, cool.
So what would be most helpful, Jeff, to hear from each of us about our pieces, to send you guys something by email, because Anna took some really great notes on our conversation. So I know you're at your time point. And you guys, do people like this? How do you want to vote, or I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, I don't think we've done, this is a lot compared to I don't know what we've normally done for Earth Month. I don't think it's done anything.
I really like the idea of the map, because I feel like
Yeah.
that's something I would like put on my refrigerator. and be
Right,
Like, we're
right.
going here for dinner, or or whatever. I think having a visual is really, that people can take away, is really helpful.
Yeah. Would it be helpful for people if I sent an email to the commission with what I have listed so far that should go on the map, and then would gather input?
Yeah.
on Things to add or
Yeah,
something?
that would be helpful.
Okay. So that's good.
John, do you have any needs around the event, like low hanging
Yeah,
questions you need answered right in this setting?
I think a couple questions. One is, are the police gonna freak out if we take all the parking spaces in the lot? I don't know where the police park. But
They don't park there,
they don't park there. Okay, good.
not on this lot.
None of this, okay, and then I think I shared with this commission an email I got from Ameren a day or two ago where they said, hey, how about if we bring some electric vehicles and you get to drive them? And I don't know what the insurance issues are around that. But setting that aside for the moment, I think it'd be really cool, because I think for a lot of people, it's like, if you're behind an electric vehicle, I've never driven an electric vehicle. I think that's true of most people. And if that helps get people over that hump and say, oh yeah, shit, this isn't that complicated.
Or even to have it just at the charging station showing how the charging works, and then they can sit in the vehicle even if you're not driving it. So if insurance issues end up being an issue, just having like exposure to it. Then some people's kids might just want to come because they like cars. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I know one or two people like that in my life. So.
Yeah, but I think it would be of interest, because like just about every damn person in Webster's got a car, every household anyway. So it's something that people intersect with. Almost nobody's got an EV, but almost everybody's got a car. And I think that it might be something that people would get a kick out of. I think it would also be helpful beyond whatever Ameren can produce in terms of dealership cars, having local Webster people who have EVs come and talk about their experience too. Because I think that's the other thing, is if people can talk to a real person from their community that can answer questions. That's
Well,
awesome.
what would the date of this be again?
Oh, that's brilliant. There's 2 days that I flagged for the Ameren people, which was Friday the 12th and Friday the 19th of April. Picked those, it would be not both days, it'd be one or the other. I picked those 2 days because I thought, oh no, Saturday, excuse me.
Saturday, okay.
What am I saying? Saturday, because it's obvious, like people aren't at work, so that's a good day to do it. I didn't pick the Saturday the 26th because that's Earth Day at Forest Park, and I don't think we want to compete for the crowd with Earth Day. And I'm gonna be on a canoe trip on the fifth, Saturday the fifth, so I can't help.
Saturday, April 12th, I know there are a lot of area-wide clean stream, like trash bashes and things.
Was that the trash batch day?
It's the Confluence Trash Bash, and then there's also another stream cleanup, which I forget which organization is hosting.
Okay,
So those are already
so those are two arguments against the 12th.
potentially.
Does anybody have any other, this is really helpful. Any other,
I would just say I just feel like April is gonna be so many things going on every weekend, so it's more our availability.
This would be more in the evening though, right? After people work. Oh, no,
Oh, no,
Saturday. Saturday.
yeah, so I think it's like 10 to noon or something like that.
I think the morning would be the best.
Yeah, before people start to scatter. But one question, and you might know the answer to this, Sean. Do you need a permit for a EV charger at your home? And if so, would that be a way for us to identify people who got EVs who might be willing
You
to
do need a
show
permit.
up?
You do, because you have to, it's a mechanical, it's an MEP permit, I believe, right? Is that what you had to pull?
It's just electrical.
Yeah, the mechanical, electrical,
Okay,
plumbing
yeah.
permit. Mhm. You're saying in order to find residents.
Yeah,
that
I'm
have-
wondering, is it like, would it be appropriate to send a letter to say, hey, you wanna show
We
off
have
your EV?
A few current and former commission members who I'm sure might be willing to help out. I bring one.
Okay. And we have some other former commissioners who got EVs.
Yeah, we've got one with the Ford Lightning who we could reach out to.
Yeah.
Oh, that,
Councilmember Hassmeyer, I believe, drives an EV.
Yeah.
And Omna has an EV, right?
Yes, we have two, so we could, and they're different, so we could potentially bring both.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
That's
there's a
plenty.
house down the street
Yeah.
from us, they installed the charger
Right,
I
right.
was
I mean,
down
I think we,
down the hill or up the hill?
yeah,
down the hill across from our.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, the one that's like
neighborhoods.
going down the hill
Well,
And that's,
it's right on the corner with the picket fence.
where Princess Diana used to live.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, it's right on the side of their house.
Yeah, because they don't have a garage.
All right, Mary.
so what would be the best next step then for us to, for you all?
I mean, does anyone else have, who's not part of the committee, have any thoughts or?
Getting this in writing would be great for me.
Yeah.
I'll need to, I know John and I exchanged an email about insurance needs and the contract situation, so I need to now run that stuff up the flagpole. But so just kind of just an email, with information on what you guys are thinking would be great.
Do you want me to send our minutes, like just a cleaned up version of your minutes?
how lengthy would you like to see them?
It doesn't need to be that, I don't need minutes,
Do you wanna
just,
I'll just, yeah, okay,
summarize it?
all right, so
Just
I'll
a
do
little
that.
hints of the four things.
All right, yeah, that would be helpful. And I guess I will let members of the Earth Month Committee work with Sean on implementing.
Mhm. Okay.
All right. All right, we'll just move on because I know we're getting late here. This is already a long one by our standards. Webster on Wheels. I don't have, no one's reached out. If anyone, I'm just gonna put out another call if anyone is interested in working with Dave Buck.
What does it entail? Sorry, I meant to ask you that.
Yeah, so
No, I
this is a
forgot.
volunteer, it's a bike ride, a community bike ride that they put on. First, I think this usually the first Saturday in May. I have to look back at the minutes. We've come out in the past and basically helped Dave organize it and shown up. I don't know, Paul has done this the past 2 years. I can send him an email. I don't know if he may not have time.
When is it?
It's usually the first Saturday of May
May 3rd is, yeah,
or
I think
Saturday or
we-
Sunday.
I think
Saturday.
they were
May-
gonna move it. Isn't that,
Right.
there was some issue with like Bristol had a day at the ballpark or something like
Yeah,
that.
you're right. It used to be it used to be on Sunday afternoon. I think they're gonna move it to Saturday.
Oh, right, okay.
And they're doing 2 events this year.
Oh, wow.
Saturday, May 3rd and Saturday, May 31st.
Okay,
They're doing two.
Yeah, that's what the
Same thing,
minutes
like,
say.
but just repeated?
2 walkable events. That's all it says in
Is
our
that
minutes.
Porch Fest maybe, or one of the other events?
Porch Fest is October 5th.
Oh,
So yeah, I think they're doing 2. The first and the last Saturdays of May.
okay.
And I did help last year on it, and my job was, there's like halfway through the route, there's a snack stop. So the kids could stop and get something to drink, something. So it's not a real labor intensive, but I just had a tiny part of it. I've not seen all of them.
Yeah. All right, gonna move on because it's late. Eco Ed, is there any update on Eco Ed?
Yeah, I need to run through this pretty fast. We're all set for March 5th, except for that I need a couple of people to come at 6:30 and help me set up. February.
What day is that?
It's first Wednesday in March.
Okay,
7
I could
o'clock.
probably. It should be good.
Great,
Got a conflict.
thank you. Green spaces set out there, they've got all of theirs laid out now. The way it looks is Wednesday, March 5th, we have Roe Picker doing worms at work. It's not as gross as you think. April 2nd is green spaces. They're going to do native plants for people and wildlife with Scott Woodbury.
Oh, Scott Woodbury's.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's amazing. May 7th, Green Spaces is doing young tree care, setting the foundation for success at Ivory Crockett Park. Cool. June 4th, we're doing Where Does Your Recycling Really Go? Stephen Wortman from Republic Services, the guy who gave us our tour, and Franklin Rosario from Ripple Glass. They're going to coordinate a presentation together, the two of them, and come up with something cool. And the guy from Ripple Glass is going to bring those bags they brought us with the handles on the bottom. They're going to bring, they said they have enough bags for everybody. So we'll have giveaway.
Nice.
September 3rd is Green Spaces Stormwater Solutions and the Brentwood Park Playground Pavilion.
New park?
Brentwood Park Destination Playground Pavilion is what they put for the location. And they don't have a speaker for that one yet. October 1st is ours. And I've got a big fat blank on there right now. John has suggested one idea that I like a lot, and it's like a bike clinic. You want to explain what you were thinking?
Sure. Through the Webster Grove Safe Streets public roadway safety that's out right now, we've seen a lot of responses that say, I want to cycle more, but I'd really appreciate more information on the routes and even training and even instruction on the rules and laws and how to signal. And so it just seems like there's kind of this unmet need of people that would like to be cycling more, and that I think they'd be really interested in some sort of events. And we've got TrailNet, GRG, we've got the Hub. I mean, we've got plenty of subject matter experts in the area. And then another option, in addition to that, would be another dark sky talk for the wider community, which would tee up the September and the fall bird migration period.
Mm-hmm.
So either one, and other options are also, but.
Yeah, so we did a dark sky one 2 years ago, so it's
Yes,
been a
I
while.
think so.
Yeah, it was the first one in 2020. Yeah, so, either one of those, I don't care. I would need more help putting together the bicycle one because I don't, it's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I like the dark sky thing because it ties into the city council. action to
Mhm.
move to 2,700 Kelvins.
Yeah, yeah, and if there is momentum on revising those codes, then that ties in nicely. I do think the cycling one is something to keep in the back pocket, and Webster Grove Safe Streets is, you know, continuing, there will be more information and data and planning with that in the next year, so it could also always be a topic next year as well.
Does TrailNet come out and do training on stuff like that? Does anybody know?
I don't know about TrailNet, I don't know if they go out and do training, but BikeWorks provides training to kids. But they're very practical and they do how to build a bike, and how to ride a bike, and safety. Like how to do the hand signals and everything like that. So, and bicycle maintenance and all that good stuff, so that might be an avenue to check.
All
I
right.
think, I think we
Oh, go
could
ahead,
talk to Ron at the hub. I think he'd be a great resource and could probably do all of it, talk about safe cycling as well as like, you know, basic maintenance and safety checks on bikes.
Yeah, I agree on that. There, I was just there on my way to this meeting. I was at the hub talking bicycle stuff with them. They're brilliant.
So what I will do is, it sounds like we have two topics and I don't think we need to belabor it right now. I'll send out an email and say, here's the two topics, what do you guys think? And see what comes back. Is that all right?
It works.
Thank you for that great slate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get all those down.
Okay.
If you would wanted to email them to me, I can
Yeah.
put them in the minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
We've talked recycling outreach, on the, having a non-voting high school student member. Erin, do you want to?
Well, we had a conversation, afterwards, I can't even remember what brought it on. We were looking for something else. Do you remember what we?
I brought to Ms. Basemeyer, like, the idea of just like having some ad or something in the
Oh, right.
school newspaper, but then the rate was like super high, and so like, yeah.
Right.
But I still think it'd be super awesome to have this like one kid each year just like come on and just like maybe make it a like competitive position or whatever or whatnot, just like with that, because like there are kids who care, but they just don't necessarily know how to like, you know, like discover ways to like, you know, use their voice and like do all that stuff. I feel like this would be like an awesome opportunity, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
And
had
we,
a college student on last year, didn't we?
Well, Carson Coonsey,
right.
actually, when she started, I believe she was a Webster Groves High School student.
right,
She just then graduated and moved on, and I don't think she's been to a meeting since. I actually still have her in the distribution list because I didn't know if I should remove her or not, but.
yeah, because I think we're always looking for ways to, you know, collaborate with the school district and the high school, but don't have that connection, so I think it'd be great.
I like your idea of making it competitive or at least thoughtful, right?
Yeah.
So then there's actually an essay associated with it that we can celebrate or whatever, a project or maybe come and just be interviewed by the commission or something.
Yeah, just
It's
giving it
something
more
else.
prestige will like just make it like make kids want to do it more honestly, so, yeah.
Maybe we can get Webster Kirkwood Times to do an article with a
Yeah.
photo
Yeah.
on your respect.
Something like that, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't know that necessarily something we have to vote on. If we do, we can vote on it next month. But I think, yeah, let's work on this collaboration. Do you want to be our point person for the commission?
Sure. Well, I hesitate because I've already got eco ed.
Yeah.
But our subcommittee on the
Priorities is,
priorities will go away,
Yeah.
so.
all right, just because we're getting 5:30 here, commission leadership, I'm done in April, so I'd like, at the next meeting, I'd like the commission, and I can send out an email to this extent, but I think we ought to choose a new chair at the next meeting, and then that person could take over then or in April. Because I'm happy to come to the next couple, but then I'm done. So,
I was asked if there are ever co-chairs But it's such a small commission, I didn't think that was really reasonable.
Yeah,
Because
the
then there's a
chairs
vice
order,
chair.
right,
So-
right. So be thinking, if I'm, and I'll put this in an email, if anyone has questions to ping me. But this is sort of everyone else's decision since I'll be stepping off. But I just want to make sure that that's in place and like May comes and where's Jeff?
Yeah.
That's usually the way it happens. Yeah, John.
I am the vice chair, but there's nothing in our regs that say it's not like an heir apparent.
Right.
We do have a vice
It's
chair
just,
Oh,
role that we would.
it's not like a president-elect or whatever. It's just a
Exactly, in
vice.
case Jeff gets run over by a
Yeah,
train. we need him-
and
could be
normally
everything.
someone just decides I can't do this anymore, and then we show up at the meeting and we're like, well, what do? We don't have an agenda or a.
So this person would be at the May thing.
Correct, that person would. Yeah,
Oh,
and so
launch the-
besides sitting here and going through the agenda, it's a lot of it is the commission chair is the touch point with the city council. And although John did our presentation in May because it was my son's birthday, but that's really the extent of it is just organizing, working with Sean on agendas, to plan agendas, and running through the meeting, and being the touch point for city council.
When do the other officers change? Whenever?
Whenever, there's no term, a specific term. I mean, I don't know if I always thought it'd be useful to have sort of a system or more of a orderly system where maybe the vice chair moved into chair, the secretary moved to vice chair, just so, kind of like organizations tend to do that way, just to give people so that you don't have to come up with who's gonna run it. But, so I definitely want to put that on March and do that up front and just do a vote on a new chair. And that way I'll be around for a little while. In case if there are any questions, but okay, with that, next meeting, March 17th, St. Patty's Day.
Oh, yeah. We
So-
haven't had a meetings. Our normal time is the third Monday of the month. And January it fell
Right,
the first, so anyway, you're right, it does fall on St. Patty's Day.
But today
You guys on
is
the-
today the third.
It's up to you, I mean,
That's not a holiday.
no.
We can bring green beer.
right,
Yeah,
right.
it's fine for me if that's
All right.
fine for
With
you.
that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.